Alright, what's up guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out the newly announced ban list from over in the East that will be going into effect on April Fool's Day, April 1st, 2024. Now, this is just in the East, from what I understand. They might update that later. Who knows? It might hit the West or it might not. I have absolutely no idea. That I don't want to give any false information. We're still waiting on confirmation on whether or not this will even hit the West, which I don't see why it wouldn't if they do it in the East. You know, but who knows? This wouldn't be the first time they've given different metas, right? Because remember, I won't go into the details, but all the way back in OP03, they did that to us over here in the West, where we had a limited meta with restricted and banned cards, whereas the East never got that treatment. So who knows? We might not ever get this ban over in the West. We'll have to see. But today, guys, I'm going to give you all my opinions on these bans. This is not going to be a video talking about Worlds at all. I do plan on talking about that in a later video, which, you know, that's, again, I'm literally just going to say that for a later video. But today we're going to be focusing on these bans and restrictions. I'm going to give you my opinion on them, tell you what I think, and we're going to use some cards to... I like to approach things from a logical standpoint. That's something I always try to do, is approach things from a very logical standpoint and give my opinion based on the science, right? On the numbers, on what we know. And it's I was very surprised with these bans. I'm not going to lie. So let's just go ahead and dive straight into it. You guys know what you're getting into. This is going to be a rant style video. I'm going to be talking about cards here. Some people might agree, some people might not agree. Y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below, because I would like to hear what everybody thinks about these bans. Okay. All right, so let's just go ahead and dive straight into it. The first card we're going to look at is actually Reject. Make sure my head's not in the way. Okay, you guys can read it. So Reject is a 4-cost event. It is a Sky Island type of event. It has 2 effects. You get to choose one. So you can KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. For a 4-cost card, that's not bad. I think it's the second effect that is like the major focus of the banning of this card. And that is, if your opponent has 1 life card, deal 1 damage to your opponent, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Now, notice that clause at the end there, then add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. That can fail. Like, in other words, if you have 0 life cards if you have 0 cards left in your life, that can just simply fail, and now you just hit them for 1 without even having to trash a card. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. This has trigger, draw 1 card, that doesn't matter. So what I don't understand about this card in the design element of it, I don't know why this card was printed the way it is, because we have seen a card similar to this in Tropical Torment. This is a 3-cost main effect. Big Mom Pirates, trigger, activate the card's effect. If your opponent has 4 or more life cards, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. That card makes sense. In fact, I think it should say if your opponent has 2 or more life cards, then do this effect. But this one is the opposite style of logic. It's more of a burn card. Like the Tropical Torment card we just looked at is more of a control card to keep them from going too high in life, and that way you can keep from having to deal with too many triggers. It almost works like a banish, right? Because they have to trash the top card of their life with this effect. But this one, now it does deal damage, so that can trigger effects, you know, on whatever the cards are. But I don't understand the concept of, like, if they're at 1 life. Why doesn't it say if they're at 2 or more life? Not if your opponent has 1 life, but if your opponent has 2 or more life. Because that, I think, is the danger, where it's like, okay, this acts as an execute. For those who play any kind of MMORPGs, or I don't know what other games might use them, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but mainly in RPGs, when you get a character down to like 10 or 20% of their health, there are abilities in games that give you the chance to execute the opponent, right, and to finish them off in 1 shot when they have 10 or 20% life left, or even if it's not 1 shot, it gives you a huge damage boost. That's the idea of this card, but this is not an RPG, right, where there's a healer behind you and a tank in front of you and all these defensive abilities you can do to react to this. Because this card would be fine if there was a card you could play, you know, in response to it, like with a cancel type of effect if you play Magic the Gathering, where you can negate the effect. Then this card would be fine because you can play around it by just countering it. But as is, okay, if you're at 1 life, you're already up against the ropes, right? You're already pushed up against the ropes, like, all right, let me try to survive 1 round. Well, if they can just pay 4 and remove your last life to go for lethal, yeah, I could see where this could be a problem, for sure. So I understand the banning of this card, I don't actually understand the printing of the card. And I have mentioned before, it's a very strong effect, and I do like the idea of burning your opponent. That is something I'm a big fan of. I like when you can burn, I like that there are burn decks in games. It does help balance things out so that there's not too many control decks just running rampant, just, completely bullying the format. You need to have a healthy... I've talked about this ad nauseum in the past. I might have to do a video on it again soon, talking about, I think, a good triangle form of meta is very healthy. Maybe if you could get a square form of meta, maybe that's the most perfect one of all. But I don't know if that's even possible. Who knows? But the idea is if you have a good aggro, control, and mid-range deck, then you have a very solid meta, a very healthy meta. So last thing I want to say about this card before we move on to the next one is if this ban does hit the West the same time or about the same time as it hits the East, and they ban this card before we even get to use it, it's such a horrible feeling. I got to go back real quick. This is why. I mean, I know many people have talked about this, not just myself. This is why they have to catch us up with the East. So that way, if a card comes out that's banned, well, at least we got to try it, and now we can agree together, oh yeah, this card was broken. Otherwise, we just have to watch a format happen without us. So many. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole right now. Y'all, people who watch this channel know how I feel about that. Okay, next up is Great Eruption. This one is absolutely, it's anathema to me. Is that how you say that? Is that how you use that expression? It's just totally foreign. The idea makes absolutely no sense to me because they just printed a card that's even stronger than this, even though it has a condition we're going to look at in a second. But Great Eruption, 1 cost, Navy, main, draw a card, and then -2 to a character for the turn. The trigger's whatever, your opponent trashes a card. That every now and then that would come up and it was decent. But the main thing is you're paying 1 to draw a card. So it is a cycle, just like the leader. We'll talk about the leader in a second. It's a cycle effect, just like your leader, but it costs 1. But for that extra 1, you're getting to -2 to a character. Yeah, this card has incredible utility in the right deck, like we saw with Sakazuki. With Sakazuki. But they just banned this card after just releasing this card. This card is called Tempest Kick. This is an OP07, obviously. Excuse me. This is a 1 cost. This is a CP9 card, not Navy, that has the effect of main, draw 1 card, just like Great Eruption, by the way. So in other words, that part is not conditional. Great Eruption and Tempest Kick both draw 1 card, period. Then, Great Eruption -2, but this card -3 if you have 10 or more cards in your trash. And the trigger is actually really good too. The trigger is basically Ice Age where you can KO 3 or less. Ultimately, I feel like this card is just simply better than Great Eruption. And I know some people are saying, yeah, but early on, I get that early on. Yes, you can get that -2 to help you, get your Great Eruption over a certain threshold so you can swing it with your brand new. But I think in the right deck, guys, I'm even thinking, think of Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark Pirates, if you go turn 1, what's it called? Sindri, and then into turn 2, Inupe. Okay, well, next turn, you're going to have access to this card. And again, you can still just play the card flat out to fill up your trash, right? You can still play this card to draw a card. But the conditional part is that 10 or more is where you can -3 to the cost. I don't see the reason in this ban. I understand this is a high utility card, but what's wrong with having a high utility card? It's 1 cost to cycle. You're paying 1 and trashing this card from your hand to draw a card. That's the way that I look at it. And you're giving and then you're giving -2 to the cost. I never really had an issue with this card because, again, if Ice Age already exists, I say again, this is the first time I'm mentioning it. Sorry, guys. Ice Age already exists. That is a 1 cost -5. I'm sorry, I don't have that in my slides, guys, but that's a 1 cost to -5. So basically what Bandai is saying is for 1 cost, vanilla, I should be able to subtract the cost of another character by 5. That's why Ice Age is the way it is. Now, who knows, maybe they regret putting it at that number, but this card doesn't even do half of an Ice Age at the cost of being able to cycle it to draw another card, which I get that. Again, from a design standpoint, this makes sense to me. And so does this card. So does Tempest Kick, by the way, a new card coming out of 07. But banning the card just because it's used a lot, because it does have high utility, I mean, why haven't they banned Red Luffy yet? Every deck that runs red is going to run Zoro or Luffy or both. You know what I mean? It's just one of those cards that's incredible. So why don't they ban that card if it has such high utility? Why don't they ban Nami if it has such high utility? Or Dadan? We saw them ban Dadan. It's a strange concept. But I guess I see where they're coming from. But at the same time, it's okay to have cards that are staples. I mean, that's what I think personally. And if they thought this card was broken, then again, what is the logic behind this one? Can I zoom in like that? Yeah, that looks good for y'all. What is the logic behind this card then? Where, oh, it's a condition. Yeah, the condition is easily met in anything running Thriller Bark, CP, or Dressrosa, and probably even Navy decks still, because Navy decks are still going to run cards like Sabo. It's going to have ways to fill up the trash. But anyway, long story short, this card negates the idea to ban this card in my mind. And I had the same idea. This is slightly off topic, and don't worry, we'll move on from here, with Ace. Like, they just printed a 10 cost 10k Ace that gains a life. And people are talking about, like, oh, they're going to ban Tinlin. Well, they just printed a card that's arguably better than Tinlin in certain situations. Like, if they have no life left, and you're at 1 life, well, you go up to 2 life, and now you can attack. And finish them off, and it acts as a way to, like, remove their last life, or attack into their board. Imagine if Tinlin said, 10 cost, 12k, you gain a life, and then you can KO one of their characters. Like, that would, in certain situations, that would actually be better than hitting them for 1 life. I know people can argue that either way. They can say, no, the other one's better. And I get it. But my point is, they print cards that are similar to what they already have printed. And then they ban one and keep the stronger one. At least conditionally stronger, but still conditionally the stronger card. It's a strange concept to me. I guess maybe it was the whole interaction of the deck. And again, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Like, maybe it's the fact that you could search this with brand new, and now you're just filling up so many cards, then, like, that helps your Rob Lucci, your Manchuri, and your Rebecca for later. I'm sure it was all those things, but I don't know. That's all I'll say on this one. I cannot believe they banned this card. I'm just going to say that. I can't believe they banned this card. This card, I understand why they banned it, because I think it was actually flawed in the design of the card. I don't know why they would print a card that does this. But this card, Great Eruption, I have no idea why they banned this card. Very strong card. I'm not saying it's a bad card, but it was very strong. But I don't think it was ban-worthy personally. Last up, we got Sakazuki. Y'all already know what this card does. If you don't, if you've been living under a rock, here you go. Just read it on the screen. This is the first leader that has 2 effects that you can use both in 1 turn, just like Isho, but these are completely free. Whereas Isho, his costs Dawn, right? Like Isho's... Let me just bring it up real quick. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, get rid of this. There we go. So for Isho, I'm just going to bring it over for y'all. I didn't actually put it in the slideshow. Whoops. Give me just a second, guys, and I'll bring this over. Okay. Whoa. It's going crazy on me. It's going crazy on me. Okay. So this has Dawn ×1 to get the first effect. Can y'all see this okay? Yeah. This is Dawn ×1 to get the first effect, and then it's pay 1 to get the other effect. So if you actually wanted to use Isho, it's going to cost you 2 resources every time, or just 1 resource if you only want to do one or the other. Now, going back to what we were just looking at with, make sure this is all back up the way it should be. There we go. Now, going back to Sakazuki, these are completely free. So you're getting to -1 cost to someone for a turn. And then you're also getting to cycle a card, which that's the really crazy one, by the way. They're both really good, but that one is absolutely insane, right? Like, okay, every turn I get to fix my hand while simultaneously filling up my trash. I remember when I first rated this card, I was just looking up the video earlier, because I was like, man, what did I give this card as a rating? Because I usually like to rate the leaders. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10 because I was trying. I even mentioned, I'm going to try not to be biased, guys. Y'all are probably going to see me as biased, but I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. This is like a 10 out of 10 leader, right? It's like a 9.5 out of 10 leader. But anyway, the problem here is that it's not a choose one. Like, let me bring up one more example while we're talking about this in Perona, because I think Perona is a good example of a leader that they printed that is done correctly. Let me take this down and pull this over. There we go. Now, Perona, yeah, you guys can see it. Notice it's an activate main once per turn, choose 1. That's where this card, I mean, number 1, it doesn't have a cycle built in. Okay, that is number 1. But at least it has 2 options, but you have to pick one, right? You can't choose both. And look at this option. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost during this turn. Sakazuki just gets that for free every single turn, and then he also gets the second effect of cycling a card out. And it looks like with Perona, it's like they learned their lesson. So maybe they've been kind of posturing into like, okay, Sakazuki was a little too strong for what we were intending. I don't know. But I do think that it would have been an easy fix, which I'm going to talk about in this next slide. I think they could have fixed this leader without outright banning him. And you can see where, spoiler warning, this is going to be the new Sakazuki you're looking at on this next slide here. This is what they chose. This is the route they chose to go with him. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to tell you what I think they should have done, because I do not think this is what they should have done. So say everything's the same, like Sakazuki, blue, black, 4 life, 5k power, navy. Activate main. You ready? Activate main once per turn. You may trash 1 card from your hand with the navy type. It's limited to navy. Give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn. So notice what's happening. Everything's almost the same, because most of the times, if you're piloting Sakazuki, you're going to be trashing a Hina from your hand to do the cycle. You're going to be trashing a Borsalino or a Kuzan, you know, maybe even Houndblaze if your hand has like 3 Houndblazes in hand or something. You know, you're going to be cycling a Navy card most of the time. That's not the issue. Trashing a Navy and getting the -1, that is all the same. However, the part that's not the same is you're not cycling a new card. And I think they messed up on this. I don't think this is what they should have done for the new leader effect. I think they're close, but here's what they should have done, in my personal opinion. It should have read just like Perona. Let me bring up Perona one more time. Okay. But instead of these effects, obviously, for Sakazuki, I think what it should have said was activate main once per turn, choose one, and the 2 effects he had. So in other words, you can either -1 cost to a character for the turn, or cycle a card. And I think that's... And I don't think it should have been limited to Navy, because, I don't know, that would have been fine. That would have been fine, actually. Yeah, sure, limit it to Navy, just for the sake of, like, pure balance, you know, and so that way they can't just put any kind of card in there, or cycle any other kind of card out of their deck. But you guys at least see the point. This as is, where you're trashing a card just to give -1, because remember, guys, this is even worse than it might sound at first, because you're not just trashing a card to draw a card. Like, that's gone, right? You can no longer trash a card to draw a card. You can't even -1 to the cost of a character unless you trash a card from your hand. So again, once per turn, you may trash 1 card from your hand with a navy type, just to give up to one of your opponent's characters -1 cost for the turn. I was all for like them adjusting the deck and doing some nerfs and some erratas. But this was a little bit of overkill, in my personal opinion. And I'll be the first one to tell you, yes, I think Sakazuki was overtuned. I absolutely think it was overtuned. It still required skill. Not saying the deck did not require skill. It absolutely required skill to play and to pilot at the highest levels. No doubt there. I thought it was overtuned, though. And I think... I don't think... sorry, guys, my ear's itching. And I don't think I was alone in that sentiment, right? Because... Again, I'm not going to talk about Worlds much here, but we saw the presentation, or the representation, rather, at Worlds. There was, like, in the Final Four, they were all Sakazuki. And it's not the first time we've seen that, by the way. We've seen tournaments, like, not every tournament, but we have seen tournaments where it's just overwhelmingly Sakazuki. And I get it, right? The leader is so consistent. Again, requires skill. Requires a lot of skill to play it. But it was just so consistent that, like, the logic for a lot of the pro players is like, why would I play anything else? And that's a bad place you want to be at. I'm not saying that other decks could not beat this deck. Please guys, do not get me wrong. I am not happy with this ban right here. I am not happy with this. I just wish they had eroded it to what I was saying. I wish they had made it just like Perona, where it's a activate main once per turn, choose one. You can either make it trash a Navy card, that's fine, to draw a card. But then the other one would be just give an opponent -1 cost for this turn. That's what I think. All right, guys, that's about it. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. I've been following the Discord. I've been following YouTube and see what's going on. A lot of people are absolutely raging over this. I get it, man. This is a weird... I don't think many people expected this. Like, I don't know if anyone expected quite this. Let me finish the video by asking you guys this. Do y'all think they're going to follow up with this ban over in the West? Are we about to get hit with this same ban? That's the first question. Number 2, what are your thoughts on these? Which ones were warranted? Which ones were not warranted? Number 3, which cards, maybe say which cards should have been banned and why? Because I know a lot of people think, oh, Gecko Moria or Rebecca or Houndblaze or Tinlin, these other cards should have been banned or restricted, right? Stuff like that. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I'll leave it there. One last word in closing. I cannot believe it happened in this way. But this should be very interesting, because without Sakazuki in the format, is that going to open up like some other crazy, like, is yellow just going to take over the format now, or what? What do you guys think is going to happen from here? And I'll probably end up doing a whole entire another video on that. But where do we go from here? If Sakazuki ends up leaving the format, where are we going to go from here? And over in the East, we were already starting to see some incredible variety in decks. With Sakazuki gone, maybe it gets even healthier. Who knows? I don't actually know. And again, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. All right, guys, that's it for me. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not already. And until next time, guys, peace.